Hey, it's John Terry, the Black Belt Leader. Welcome to the Be a Black Belt Leader podcast. I want to take a few moments and talk about the names we call ourselves and the positive or negative impact that can have in our lives and on our success. As we think about who we are and what we do every day, we can be our own worst critics. You and I can be our own worst enemy. And when we really wonder who's the person that's after us, we often see that person when we look at ourselves in the mirror. We are far too often, whether we realize it or not, the saboteurs of our own success in life. And sadly, I see this done by people to themselves every single day. I'm out and about and engaging in the public. And for most of those individuals, they don't even realize they're doing it. They don't believe they're worthy of success. And they remind themselves of that every single day by the names they repeatedly call themselves throughout the day. Now, interestingly enough, if you go look up the definition word in the dictionary, there's a variety of definitions, but one in particular stands out to me. One of the key definitions of the word is this. Word is a command, a password, or a signal. Now, think about that. The words you and I speak to ourselves are commands, passwords, or signals. Yet, given that definition, how little attention do you and I give to the words we speak to ourselves and over ourselves every day of our lives without realizing the power of these words, commands, passwords, signals. Now, it's not enough that we blame others when we fail, and I talked about that in the last episode of this podcast. But often, rather than blaming others, when something goes wrong, we point the finger inside. We point it at ourselves. We end up beating ourselves over the head with negative thoughts, negative words, and as a result of that, we begin to see ourselves as a failure rather than a person who has failed. Let me say that again. Rather than point the finger at others, we tend to beat ourselves up. We tend to throw negative thoughts at ourselves. We tend to speak negative words over ourselves. And hear me here, we see ourselves as a failure rather than a person who has failed. Now, understand, you and I, we are all going to fail in life. Nobody is perfect. Not you, not me, none of us. We are all going to make mistakes in life. As I've shared previously, making mistakes is one of the ways we learn. It's how we discover what doesn't work so we can go try something new until we learn what does. If you think about the greatest inventors of the world, they've discovered what didn't work as they were working diligently to create something that never existed before. They failed early, they failed often, but they kept failing forward until they learned what worked and they seized upon it and continued to make it better. Each failure that they experienced wasn't seen as a dead end. It was seen as a learning opportunity that moved them one step closer to success. Yet in all of this, all too often, this is the exception and not the rule as we look at how people live life. They see failure as a dead end and they stop trying to move forward. Think about it this way. How often do we hear the people around us belittling themselves, demeaning themselves, or talking down to themselves when they made a mistake? I hear it almost every single day. Recently I was at a local restaurant and a server forgot a customer's toast. When he kindly brought it to her attention, she replied, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just a forgetful idiot." Well, later that same morning, I stopped by a big box store to pick up a few items for the office. And as I rounded the corner, I came across an employee who was muttering to herself as she was stocking a shelf, "I can't believe I screwed this up again. I can't believe I put everything on this shelf in the wrong place. I'm such a loser." And then in the same big box store, I'm waiting in line in the self-checkout, and I overhear the conversation of a young man having a dialogue with someone on his cell phone. "Yep," he said, "I did it again, and boy, is she mad at me. I don't know why I always keep saying the wrong things. I'm just stupid, stupid, stupid." Now, what was every one of those individuals doing? They were playing the blame game with themselves, and they were winning. Now, that's a game you don't want to win, is the blame game. But in winning the blame game, they're losing in life. Now, you and I, at some time in our lives, we probably all told ourselves that we're stupid, we're dumb, we're ignorant, and we tell ourselves that we really don't believe that. But in reality, we wouldn't say those things about ourselves if we didn't believe it. Our subconscious is speaking through our mouths and is saying what we believe to be true on the inside about ourselves. We see ourselves as lacking, inept, or worthless in some way, and this becomes manifested in the descriptive names that you and we call ourselves. And as James Allen so eloquently repeated, as a man thinketh, so he becomes. As I like to say, as you speak and as you think, you ultimately become. Names like idiot, moron, stupid, dumb, jerk, lunatic, loser, fool, dimwit, doofus, nitwit, airhead, crazy, loony, scatterbrain, butthole. You can add to any of those descriptive words. Those derogatory words and others like them, they only do one thing. They belittle, demean, and continually reinforce within us a negative view of ourselves. Now, it's a negative affirmation. Those words are an affirmation. They are affirming something we believe about ourselves. Those negative affirmations are ultimately a cancer that is slowly devouring and destroying your self-confidence, your self-esteem, and it's prohibiting you from seeing and seizing the endless opportunities for success that are always before you. And those opportunities, when you see them and seize them, they take you on the path that leads to more and greater success in your life. But this negative reinforcement that you and if we're not careful, we're doing it to ourselves every day. Those negative reinforcements cause us to see ourselves as inferior, as inadequate, or inept. It puts the attention on you and your lack rather than the problem that needs to be addressed, resolved, or solved, and it limits you from seeing the resources that are available to do that. Those negative affirmations, those negative words you speak over yourself is simply reinforcing your belief in yourself as a failure. And rather than seeing yourself as a person who failed, who can learn from failure so you don't repeat the same mistake in the future, you see yourself as a failure. And as a result of that, you position yourself for more failure in life. Now, hear me. Successful people, black belt leaders in life, accept failure as a part of life. Anytime you're going to try to do something new, there's going to be an opportunity to fail. It's how we learn. Understand that failure is momentary. And to the black belt leader, it is a teachable moment. As such, a black belt leader in life sees failure as an event. It does not see failure as an indictment of who you are as an individual. That's huge, and I hope you got that in today's teaching. Black belt leaders see failure as an event and not an indictment of who you are as an individual. I love studying the great leaders of history, and Abraham Lincoln was one of those individuals I love to study. Once Abraham Lincoln was asked about his failures in life, and here's what he said. He said, "My greatest concern is not that I failed, but whether or not I was content with my failure." Now, what was he saying? When you learn the lesson failure's trying to teach you, there's great contentment in that because you've learned something new. You've learned about something that didn't work, so you don't have to go try that again because you know it wasn't the answer, and you can keep looking for the answer until you find it. Now, sadly, when we begin to speak failure over our lives and we begin to say those negative, hurtful things to ourselves, we're engaging in self-pity. And self-pity destroys many lives. But when we shift to playing the blame game, self-blame destroys even more. And when the names that you and we call ourselves cast blame, insult, ridicule, or humiliation on ourselves, it's as if we're intentionally closing the door on our personal growth and our future success. In doing so, what are we doing? We're condemning ourselves to a life of lack, a life of not enough, and a life of failure. Now, is that what you really want for your life? No, I don't think so. But it's important to remember this. The quality of our thinking is going to dictate the quality of the life that you and I are living right now and we will live tomorrow. What we think, we speak. And what we speak, we believe to be true about ourselves. So we need to be conscious about our thinking and our speaking. When our subconscious mind hears us speaking negative and demeaning words about ourselves, it believes this to be true, and it focuses its energy and its resources on making this a reality in our life, positioning us for more lack and more failure. So it's time to pay attention to the names that we're calling ourselves, to be aware of what we're saying to ourselves and about ourselves, and becoming intentional about it, speaking positive affirmations that build us up, that encourage us, that strengthen us, and give us the opportunity to see ourselves as the incredible people that we are. This is an opportunity to change what we believe to be true about ourselves and to reprogram our brains to see ourselves in a new and a positive light. It's an opportunity to see failure as an event, not as an expression of who we are and an indictment of our failure in the moment. It's an opportunity for you and I to learn the lessons life is trying to teach us. So when we learn those, we grow, mature, and we become a better version of ourselves in the process. Now, this is going to require that you begin to be intentional about listening to your thoughts, the words you're speaking over yourself, and specifically the names you're calling yourself. You've got to change the conversation you're having with yourself if you want to achieve a better outcome in life. Remember this: as you think, you speak and do. And as you speak and do, you ultimately become. So what are the names you're calling yourself? And what names do you need to stop calling yourself? And what names do you need to start calling yourself so you see yourself as the incredible black belt leader in life that you are? Changing the names you call yourself is how you learn to master your life. I'm John Terry, the Black Belt Leader, and I want to say thanks for joining me for this Be a Black Belt Leader podcast. Have yourself a great day.